So welcome to our spring cleaning, decluttering, maybe you're downsizing. And with this event, we're going to be giving you some information as well on how to dispose of anything you don't want anymore. Of course, we're Age-Wise Colorado. We thank you all for being here, and we hope you use us as often as you need to, and even when you don't, because the articles and other webinars we have on the site, we do feel like we provide, well, we know we provide an essential service to not only older adults, but their adult children that are very often helping them, even to the providers, because our providers are starting to use each other as referrals. So anyone that's willing to make a donation, nothing is too small and it helps us keep this going. Or you can volunteer. We always appreciate getting more volunteers to help us do our work. Um, Amy Larchick and Ben Spilger are here today to talk to us. You can read through this later when you look at the website if you want to revisit it. They'll tell you a little bit about themselves. And again, visit us anytime you need. Remember, you can also call us if there is anything you need and can't find it or just can't get to a computer. And with that, I will stop my share. And Amy, I turn the tables over to you.
Okay, hi. Well, thank you, Barbara, for the introduction, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. And thank you for being able to, I'm grateful to be able to speak to this great community that you've built. Like Barbara said, my name is Amy Larchick, and I am the proud owner of Life Caddie Organizing. So our name is Life Caddie, like the golf caddy, Caddie, because like in golf, you have a caddy who helps carry the weight of your clubs and helps guide you on the golf course. We help guide you and we help carry the physical burden and the emotional burden of clutter. And we help guide people through the process of decluttering and organizing, both in their homes and their belongings and the items that they have in their home, but also in their lives. So we guide you through the course of life. And that's how we became Life Caddy. Many years ago, I had been asked to help my grandparents downsize and declutter because they were planning to move. And I helped them and learned a lot from mistakes of how hard it is to declutter. And I learned that it's not an easy process. There's a lot to it. And so I helped them and I successfully helped them. And then I helped a grandmother and then I helped an aunt. And through this process, everyone started hearing about how Amy is good at downsizing, organizing, and decluttering. And I became an expert, and everyone started asking me for help, my family and friends. And one day I said, the next person that's going to ask me to help them, I'm going to ask them to pay me. And then after that, I started becoming a business. And what started as an act of love, it turned into a full-fledged business. And I never really looked back. And that was a little over I want to say 7 or 8 years now. Why does decluttering matter? So many people ask me, why does decluttering really matter? Why is it important? And let's be honest, decluttering isn't exactly fun. Decluttering can be tough. It's hard. It's emotional. It's physical. It's exhausting, and it could be stressful. But for these exact reasons, is why decluttering matters so much, because if what's already a difficult process, and the last thing you want to do is make it harder by procrastinating and by putting it off. Decluttering takes time, and if you could do it now, and it could help relieve the stress later on down the road. So decluttering, it is stressful. That's one of the things that it is. It's sometimes hard. Clutter in a house can often cloud your mind, and it can make decision making very difficult. A lot of times people just get overwhelmed and they experience this paralysis where they can't do the decluttering and it's overwhelming. But when you do declutter a home, it helps provide a cleaner environment, it helps create a calmer mind, and it can simplify your life. And it's good to do the decluttering while you still can. There's a sense of empowerment there when you are the one doing the decluttering. It puts control in your hands. It allows you to decide what stays and what goes. It allows you to be the one making these decisions, and you could do it before someone else does, because so often I actually get calls from a caseworker or a family member or a physical therapist that says they're in someone's home and it's not safe, and that they maybe not think that it's safe for them to live alone because the clutter is so much and so abundant. And so I get called in to help assess and help remove the clutter and help organize and keep someone living at home longer, safer. Because obviously clutter can be a safety hazard. It could be a walkway that's cluttered and it's not safe, especially if you have mobility issues or if you use a walker or some kind of a device that you might need to walk and move around for mobility and accessibility. So a lot of times people don't acknowledge, and it often gets overlooked, but paper clutter matters too. It is a key part to the process, especially if you're trying to plan for a future or your estate and have peace of mind for your future. In gathering those important documents and decluttering what's not important is extremely important in the process. Having your financial documents, your health directives, your paperwork organized and accessible in case of an emergency is a really critical part of your decluttering journey. So let's not forget about paper clutter. Um, but all of these reasons of why decluttering matters all have also a financial piece to it. It's a financial savings to start decluttering. Decluttering now can actually save you money in the long run. You could avoid cost. Often people have to make a move and they're moving from a large house to a smaller house, and the whole move is so overwhelming that decluttering isn't something they want to deal with, and so they put their items and belongings in a storage unit, and month after month they're paying for storing stuff that they could have decluttered while they had the chance and while you are able to. So starting now with that decluttering process saves you money down the line. And then I like to tell people, the decluttering or downsizing from a large home to a smaller home saves you money because you have lower housing costs and lower utility bills. And so that downsizing process can help in that area as too. But also, I'll be honest, when I come into a house, a lot of times people are like, I can't find anything. And then we start that decluttering process. And sure enough, I find about 3 or 4 of those things and those items that that person actually wanted to purchase again. So it could save money because you're not buying duplicates. Um, Paperwork, this one I feel is really one of the most important things financially, is because you could avoid late fees or missed bills or legal issues down the line. If you only have a few papers of the most important, then you're less likely to miss something important. So decluttering those papers are important. When you are decluttering, you are the one that is in charge of your legacy. And if you do it now, you are allowing for the things that are important to be in your home, and it gives you the space to enjoy what you enjoy and allows people to see what is important to you, whether it be your journals, your pictures, choosing which items to pass down to family members. This approach to decluttering allows you to showcase what's important to you instead of your clutter or your trash or debris. It gives you the ability to have a space that is yours and it's on your terms. But we know that it's difficult to get rid of things that we have and our belongings because there's a huge emotional side to that. And let's talk about emotion. I mean, we know that your items and removing them and having them in your home is deeply, deeply personal. We know that your items carry meaning. They are your memories. They are your identity. They are what makes you who you are. And so, whether you are looking at a table that you no longer need, but you have memories of your children doing homework or wedding china or letters from loved one, letting go of those can feel like you are losing part of yourself. But that's also why I feel like it's a really important process to declutter because it allows you to honor those stories um, that are all behind those belongings. It allows you to talk about those stories and pass down those stories or pass down that item to someone who actually could love it. And I think of decluttering as reframing from just getting rid of things as reframing it as letting go an act of kindness and an act of storytelling, an act of healing and celebrating. And it's really important for you to do that so you have closure with those items instead of waiting for something to happen where someone else has to do that decluttering for you. But if you do want someone to do that decluttering for you, I'm definitely the professional that does that. How do professionals help you when they actually come into your home? What does that look like? We So professional organizers create a personalized plan. So when I said that I declutter your items and your belongings, and we also declutter your lives, we help create a plan that's unique to you. So whether you want to go room by room and declutter things that are in your rooms or category by category, we help tailor a process for you. We help find and identify what is the highest priority for you. And then we create a timeline and a structure, and we work backwards from there that fits you. And then that way you're only paying someone for what's most important and what's most needed. And then you have our timeline, you have our structured plan, you have this personalized plan that's catered to you, and you can continue to work on it on your own and build momentum and continue to do that work on your own if you want, or you can continue to have us to help you. We break it down into very manageable steps. I When people get overwhelmed with a professional organizer, I think that's crazy because the whole purpose of a professional organizer is to break downsizing and decluttering and organizing into very manageable steps for you. No one should be overwhelmed under my watch. I say that we start small, and then the progress builds momentum, and it helps you to do your own homework on your own, and it creates an environment that's manageable with these steps. Um, since we do this so often, we know what those categories are that are important and that you need in your home. We are great at creating systems. We have systems. We don't need to create them. We have some systems that are very easy in terms of categorizing your belongings. So whether you want to work side by side or whether you want us to do this, but we help with actually putting your items and your belongings into those categories to be keep, donate, sell, recycle, trash, memories. We do that physical work for you, put them into piles or sections or boxes, and then you could choose to do what you want with those items. You could be all, oh yeah, that box of recycling just needs to go into the recycling bin, or no, I want to keep this, or better yet, this is shredding, and I could do the shredding on my own. I don't need to pay Amy to help me organize that shredding. I have a shredder, I'll do it on my own. Or the box of electronics, you're like, yeah, I don't know how to get rid of those. That's too much trouble. We can do it for you. So it allows you these categories in the system that we do, it allows you to pick and choose what fits your budget, what fits your physical needs, and what fits your priorities. We provide very non-judgmental advice, and we provide non-judgmental support. Often I get called in by a family member who says, I tried to help mom with her clutter, but it's so overwhelming. It's so emotional for me. We're not getting anywhere. We're not able to make decisions. We're fighting, we're arguing. It's emotional. We're crying. We can't be on the same page. Having a professional there allows for that to happen. We tell you where you should be and how to be on the same page, and we help make those decisions for you. And we do it without judgment. We help guide you, and we help provide that physical work for you. But we could also coordinating with family members and other people that are within your community or important people in your lives. We're great at communication. Communication is a really important part to successful downsizing and decluttering, actually. We don't just work with you. We work and coordinate with everyone who's involved. So whether it is your family member or a loved one that might be far away, we make sure that they're in the loop and that they're kept up to date and that we're all on the same page. But often we end up coordinating more with when we're decluttering in terms of for a move of like financial advisor or a real estate agent or a facility. So, or a caseworker for that matter, to say to the caseworker, yes, this decluttering has been done. The house is safe. This person is in a good position and probably can be stay in their home for longer. So that communication is great because we help with that communication, and you don't have to do it, and it reduces stress. It can save money and misunderstanding, and it can align you from start to finish. We handle the logistics of decluttering. We partner with many different companies, and so we have a big group that we network with that knows how to get rid of things, whether it be your chemicals or whether it be recycling. Instead of throwing them in the trash, we know where to take them to be recycled. One of the things that I do as soon as a client hires me and tells me, yes, I know that these items are going to be donated, I actually just get on my phone and I schedule a donation pickup. It's free and it's scheduled. And you may not get all your donations out on that timeline, but it at least gets that momentum started and we can get those donations out and picked up for you. So handling those logistics, we just know how to do it because we've done it for so long. Whether that's trash removal or recycling or haul out, whatever that may be. A lot of times we also have contracts with movers or whoever. We have contracts with them, so it could also be less expensive because we work with them so often, we get discounts. So handling the logistics could also save you money. We could also help save money in that area. We connect with partners, and so that kind of brings me actually to Ben, who is the owner of Luggers, who is someone that we partner with and who is a great resource for making sure that your unwanted items are removed responsibly and affordably. He will have some knowledge for you here, but I also wanted to say that this webinar really isn't about giving tips or it wasn't really about giving you tips on how to handle your decluttering and downsizing. But because we do that so often, we have a lot of documents out there that are tips that are free and accessible. So if you are looking for tips in a specific area that I'm not covering right now, I'm happy to answer your questions here at the end. But you also are always welcome to email me or call me and ask me for an area that you might be struggling, and I can send over a document that would have some great tips to help get you started on your own.
Thank you very much, Amy. I've learned a lot about the organizing industry over the past 5 years, and I have a great appreciation for what you all do. It's a very important service, and thank you for sharing so much about that. So I'll try and keep it simple. My business is not nearly as complicated, I think, as the sorting and just figuring out what to do with stuff. About 5 years ago, I was looking for a new business opportunity to serve our community in Denver and across Colorado. And I learned that in what's known as the junk removal industry, that the vast majority of stuff is just thrown away. And I saw an opportunity to create an eco-friendly alternative to furniture and junk removal in a responsible way, as Amy said. to better serve the communities that we're in. So what we do that I think is unique, that I think is an important part of this process, and I've learned that to communities like Agewise, Colorado, that our approach is maybe considered more valuable, in that our goal is to repurpose, rehome, and recycle everything that we possibly can. We have very well trained, insured, and licensed individuals that work for us that do specialize in this area. So we've built out a network of partners across Colorado that, for one, specialize in donation as charitable partners. We've partnered very closely with Arc Thrift. They're probably our most important strategic partner. They come to our warehouse where we sort and segregate to pick up a box truck of donations every week. And we're able to provide donation receipts on their behalf for any items that can be donated. As well as because they can't take everything, we have a little secondhand shop that we've just opened this year in Sheridan, where we just use that as another resource to make sure that more stuff is not thrown away. We additionally have partnered with about a dozen Colorado-based organizations that recycle everything from mattresses, tires, paint, really anything that has downstream opportunities, including electronics, in order to make sure that things end up in the right place and don't unnecessarily get thrown away and discarded as not useful, because they are. There's a lot of good stuff that's out there that we're just really focused on keeping in our community and being a part of what they call the circular economy. That's really the gist of what we do. We're full service. We go into people's homes and businesses and work very closely with organizers as well as with owners and residences to figure out what their objectives are and how to best serve them in making a little bit more space in their homes and prepare potentially for new phases of life. So that's really what I've prepared to share with everyone. Barbara, Amy, if you have anything to add or if there's any questions, yeah, thank you very much for having me here. I really do appreciate it.
Ben, I have a question for you.
Yeah, Barbara.
Do you take computers, like old
We do.
laptops, and what do you do with them?
Yeah, so with laptops and computers specifically, our R2 certified e-waste recycler does data destruction to make sure that no sensitive data is compromised. So that's a very important part of the process. And just general electronics, everything from an old toaster to an air conditioning unit to anything that has a battery or plugs into a wall. We have resources to both recycle and repurpose those items.
And do you charge for that?
The biggest thing that there are charges for are the old CRT TVs, those classic box televisions that we've all had in our lives. Those do have recycling fees because they have mercury and other dangerous chemicals in them, and they have to be disposed of properly. Aside from that, we generally, like if you have a box of old cords and phones and e-waste, we generally charge like $10 just for logistics and handling.
Thank you.
Of course.
This look like when does someone call you and schedule, what is that time rate and time frame, and how does that process actually look?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way that people schedule appointments with us is either on our website, junkluggers.com, or via our scheduling team at 1-800-LUG-JUNK. It was the best acronym we could come up with. And generally, we have same and next day availability for larger jobs, especially when we work with organizers that are going through a much bigger process. We'll generally come out ahead of time and provide a free, no obligation estimate, so you have a better idea of what the costs may be, and to ensure that we can assist in in meeting anyone's budgets. But we try and make it as frictionless as possible and as easy to access our services as possible.
Do you offer an option to like take pictures and ask questions about items to see if that's what you want? If someone can't have you come to the site, or so it doesn't waste your time?
Yeah, certainly. So a large portion of what we charge is based on volume, and it can be very difficult if it's more than a few items to assess volume. We can generally give an idea range based on pictures. We have it built into our model just so we can provide accurate pricing to our clients, that the preference is to come on site, especially if it's a larger job. And we have trucks out in the field all day, every day, that are happy to stop by and provide an estimate at no cost.
And I would mention, since you all, or many of you, found out about us from the AgeWise newsletter, on the AgeWise site, you can also find Ben and Amy, as well as others that can help you with this. Amy, maybe you could give us maybe one or two of the top things to think about as far as tips if you're doing this on your own.
So one of my biggest things is I've noticed that people get really overwhelmed. And so what I've started doing, and this is definitely something you could do in yourself, is when I come into a room and this person says, okay, my office is my highest priority. So the first tip is find what your highest priority is. And go to that area and that room, or bring that highest priority to you, to your table, whether it's papers, whether it's anything that you want to declutter or organize. It could be your CDs, it could be books, it could be journals. This was just an example for an office. This person was losing papers, losing bills, and their office was overwhelming, and it was very cluttered and needed to be decluttered. But when she would go in there, it would just be so overwhelming for her that and she couldn't see past all the clutter to what needed to be done, and it was just so overwhelming. So what I do sometimes in this case is I get a sheet and I cover almost everything in the room but the desk where they're at that moment. And then we just work in that area. And then when you can't see it, it allows for you to just focus on that area. So sometimes I will bring everything out of that area because they have like CDs or books everywhere. And so we remove all that from that area and just focus on that one thing. But if you can't remove it, and that's not a possibility, and that's why I came up with, let's put a big sheet over this, and then we just focus on this one area. And it allows you to not be overwhelmed. So that is one of my favorite tips that I've seen some progress with for people who can't actually haul this stuff out and remove it and then put it back in and only keep it to decide what they're going to declutter. Let's see, do we have any questions about that, or should I move to another tip possibly?
Yeah, go ahead and give us.
So a lot of people ask the emotional piece to it, and they're helping a loved one. So this may not be for you personally, but if you're helping a loved one, a lot of people ask, it's just so emotional. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to move forward without causing more arguments or emotion to be brought up. And so I think tips of knowing what wording to use is kind of helpful when you're helping someone. Instead of saying this table is your memory and this is all your memories, being able to use the wording like this table is it's simply a vessel for the memory. It's not the memory itself. So saying the right wording can often eliminate stress, but you could also say those right wording for yourself when you're trying to downsize and declutter. Reinforce to yourself, this item is it's not the memory itself, it's not who I am itself, it's more of the legacy and the continuation of it by gifting it to someone. Like, how can that continue? So a lot of times it's just wording things different in terms of what you're trying to downsize and you're decluttering. But there's also tips in terms of like, I don't know how to get my papers lined up. I don't even know what those categories are. So I can, I can name off those categories for you like I did earlier, but there's also other like resources out there that can give you a list of exactly what those paperwork action plans should look like. What are those important documents? What are the directives, the insurance policies? What are they? Because sometimes you don't know what they are. And so doing some research on it, and I'm sure that AgeWise has some resources on this, is to look at what those resources are and what those items are. So you're not just trying to figure out, oh, what do I need? My birth certificate, or do I need, my directives? What do I need? It's really hard to just try to come up with those things on your own. If you could have them before you're doing the decluttering process, it makes it so much simpler. So that's why I said I have documents of what those tips are, because I can give you the list of what those important documents are that you need, and then you can just check them off with a checkbox. And same with the piles of the box method or the sorting and the category method. Have those categories before you start that decluttering process already established, whether it's with a sticky note or a box or some type of label or some section in your home. Have it designated already, so when you go to do that decluttering process, it's not overwhelming. This says keep. I know I want to keep this. This says donate. I know that's going to be donate. This is obviously a shred. But if you're having to like decide on the spot, it makes things so much more difficult, and you just need it to be clear and simple. So if you could have that stuff done ahead of time before you're doing the decluttering process, it helps.
And I'd like to let everyone know we just added a new provider. And what she does some online training, she does individual work, but it's taking care of photographs. And people, I happen to have an old steamer trunk of my grandmother's that is filled with photograph albums. And, what are the kids going to do with them when I'm not here and they don't even know who's in the pictures? And the classes are pretty fabulous of what to do to kind of put something together for yourself that you still enjoy looking at the memories, but that isn't overwhelming, with boxes and boxes of photo albums like we all used to keep.
Thank you so much for having us, and thank you everybody in the community for showing up.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.